All right, I got the official notification that I am live on all three platforms. Good evening, and how do you do? Give you a little song today. So, hopefully, these notifications are going out to everyone. But no matter what, I am going to speak as long as I'm going to speak, and then I'm going to get off. So, either you're here on time or you catch the replay. It's okay. So, thank you guys who are joining me on Instagram, who's joining me on YouTube, and that's joining me on Clubhouse for another edition of Sex, Love, and Marriage. It's actually Sex, Love, Marriage, no and, where I talk about different topics every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that we experience in life, relationships, and in marriage. Why? Because we have to get some of these conversations started. And knowing that I'm hearing from some of the audience that do listen, I am excited that these are starting conversations inside of people's homes, which is amazing. And the whole point of this, I love to give of me what I can to spark the conversations. Why? Because I'm not here to be right. I am just here to be heard and get those conversations started. So, for those who have never seen me before, if this is your first time with me, welcome. I am your favorite life coach and certified clinical sexologist, Coach K, with a topic of permanent decisions, temporary situations. Before I dive too far deep into this, because trust me, I am going to go far deep into this because I'll tell you what sparked it. And okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but just a couple of reminders to all of you that if you are not already, please make sure that you have subscribed to and are following my YouTube channel, which is where this is streaming. It's also on the other platforms, but eventually you will only be able to find me on YouTube. I am on every single social media platform at Coach K 101, COACH KAY 101, the one and only. You see red, you see me. A couple of events that I have coming up, workshops for ladies only and for couples. Couples Mind Fucked, which is the sensual touch yoga class, is coming up on November the 12th. You have two opportunities to attend that class, one at 2 o'clock, one at 6 p.m. Yes, there is a virtual option. And then we have She Flow, which is the ladies' sensual touch class. That is going to be on December the 3rd. Two opportunities, one at 2 p.m. and one at 6 p.m. So make sure you grab your tickets. You must register in advance because there are little, I'll just say, gift sets that you'll be getting to utilize when you leave. I believe that's all we have. Oh, and don't forget that the registration for the third annual Fools in Love Couples Retreat is open, where we're only taking 5 couples. It is quality over quantity. 5 couples is my max. So make sure you get registered for that. Just search Fools in Love Couples Retreat and you'll get to that. Or just shoot me a message and I'll make sure that you get the information. Anyway, let's get started on tonight's topic of permanent decisions, temporary situations. Now, the reason why this topic came back up for me is because I am a binge watcher of shows. I love to just peruse and watch mindless shows while I'm working. And I think it was called Hollywood Divas was on. And on that is no Hollywood Exes. Hollywood Exes. So it's a show about some ex-girlfriends and ex-wives of different people in Hollywood. And one of them was, and I hope I say this right, Montoya was her name, is her name. And at the time, and mind you, hey, American Divorce Stories, thank you for joining me. Hope you're having a great evening. This was probably about 8 to almost 10 years ago. But when it came back on, it's like, so she is the ex-fiance of Neo, famous singer, the head fisher himself, Neo. Great voice, right? They were together. They shared 2 beautiful children together. And she shared that they, using my air quotes here, they made a decision for her to get her tubes tied and burned because they were done having children. I believe at the time she was in her late 20s, early 30s. Let that sink in. Late 20, early 30s. She might was mid 30. Don't quote me on that. I don't like to be quoted on a lot of stuff because I'm getting this from the TV show, right? And when she shared it with one of the ladies, the emotion that she had because they're now split up, her emotion of, I will never be able to have children, birth children from my body if my surgery cannot be reversed. And from what I understand, cutting and burning your tubes is a little trickier than some of the other methods of maybe clamping or just tying. And so now that they are, split up, and her children were still young, her children were under 5 years old at this time. She's still a young woman. They're now split up, which means that she has the potential to have another suitor, and date and potentially be engaged to and marry someone else who will not have the same opportunity that was given to Neo. And it really made me think there are a lot of us in this world that make permanent decisions within a temporary situation. And I know that if you've been watching from the beginning, you heard me say her ex-fiance, right? Fiance. So why am I talking about this as a temporary situation? Well, because the reality is it's several realities within that. One of the realities is your fiance is not your husband. Your fiance is not your wife. Your fiance is not the legal person that you have had this ceremony with, that you are legally bonded to. You guys are still essentially in a dating situation that has just been confirmed exclusive, and we're on the path to marriage. And so there's still another step in this process, which means that we're still in a temporary situation because people get engaged and unengaged all the time, just like people get married and divorced all the time. Both of those, I said, just as quick as you can do one, you can do the other. So in someone's mind, oh my gosh, all of this is a temporary situation. Well, kind of. Some of the permanent decisions that we make, and just so let me backtrack because I will go down a rabbit hole and I will confuse not just myself, but everyone that's listening. When I think about that situation, I think of a conversation that did not go the way that it probably should have gone. I wasn't there. The only two folks that were there are Monyetta, and I'm probably saying that right, so forgive me if I do, and Neo, which I forgot his real name. So those were the only two that were there. The way that she explained her side, because there's her side, his side, right? And then somewhere is the solid iron truth of what that conversation was. According to the way she was explaining it, he was really nudging her to get this surgery done. Like, hey, I don't want any more kids. You don't need to have any more kids. We're getting married, so you just need to go ahead and do this. Now, mind you, he could have easily gotten a vasectomy. According to studies, research, and the internet, a man getting a vasectomy is less invasive. It's a lot quicker. It's not ironclad, just like some tubal ligations aren't. But he very well could have done that, or they could have mutually agreed, hey, if we, fiance to fiance, If we truly are not looking to have any more children because we are going to be married and we're good with the two we have, then let's mutually cut things off so that we're not able to reproduce, right? Well, fast forward about 8-ish years later, maybe 5 years after they split, because I don't remember if it was on the show that it was disclosed. He has more children. And I can only imagine the not just hurt, that she was distraught, that she was probably angry, that she was probably frustrated, and quite frankly, pissed the fuck off because she made a permanent decision while still in a temporary situation, while he can now go on and has gone on to produce more, multiple, not just one child, more children with his, well, now they're, split, but he ended up marrying a young lady and having more children with her. This is not something that she has done with her now husband because she is now married and they don't have the two of them together. Yes, you can adopt, blah, blah. But if we had a decision made that as fiance to fiance, we were not going to have any more children, so I got the surgery done. They split, and now look, that is what happens when you are willing to, in a relationship, make a permanent decision in a temporary situation. Thinking of my own process, after I had, even I think while I was still pregnant with number 5, I knew, and I had this discussion with my husband. It wasn't for permission. It wasn't to make sure it was okay. It was a respect conversation that I had with my husband. Hey, this is it for me. I made this decision. I made the finalized decision for my body, for this permanent decision that I wanted to make, that I was done having children. We talked mutually. He's done having children. And so I chose on Valentine's Day, that was my gift to me 10 years ago, to have my tubes tied and no, I think they were clamped. I don't know. I just know they haven't been undone. Found some wood to knock on because, geez, if I turn up with a child, y'all gonna know. Y'all gonna see me on here with a jacket on. But I made that decision to shut down production. We talked about him possibly having a surgery. That's not something he wanted to do. It doesn't matter. That's something that I wanted to do. I did not want to take my body through chemicals of birth control because I knew I was done having children, because that's absolutely a conversation that she could have had with Neo. Hey, I don't want to make this permanent decision because I'm still young. I don't know what may happen. We haven't gotten married yet. There's nothing set in stone. So maybe I should get XYZ. Yes, absolutely. American Divorce Stories on Instagram. Your body, your choice, not Neo's decision. Absolutely correct. And that's why I wanted to get this type of conversation happening. There are a multitude of relationships that people enter in. And I'm talking about young people and some older people. And in those relationships, they decide to make these permanent decisions, not just in surgery. I'm talking about purchasing cars, purchasing houses, adding their names to credit cards, getting tattoos, even though, yes, they can be undone. But we do these things in the hopes of what's to come. But I encourage you that if you are in a relationship, a healthy relationship, and you can have these meaningful, purposeful, and transparent conversations, that it's okay to say, hey, you know what? We've been dating for 10 years. I'm not comfortable with purchasing a house with you because if anything happens while we're dating, I may not be legally protected. Or if I should pass away and I maybe want to leave my house or leave it in my family's, name because I'm not married, so I want to leave it to the family, that could possibly pose a problem. I mean, down to something as simple as, and I know this may seem petty, but something as simple as renting a car in your name for someone while you're in a relationship. You need to really think about those types of decisions. Why is that a permanent decision? Because if anything happens to that vehicle, it is forever tagged in your name on your record. If this the person decided tomorrow to take off with that vehicle, the police are going to come looking for you. The rental car company is coming looking for you. So we have to be more cognizant and okay with, hey, if I say no, if my partner gets upset because I exercise the important decision of the no, then I need to be looking at this relationship anyway. I need to take a step back and say, hey, why are you getting upset that I said no? Number one, if we're in this temporary situation because I'm not legally safe from whatever I might be doing, why would you get upset? That may be, it may be an emotional intelligence issue. It may be a trust issue that they may have. So that's a even further conversation. So something as simple as, hey, we've been dating for the last 3 years. I think you're the one. Let's get engaged. Boom, we get engaged. Well, we've been living in this apartment for the last 3 years. Now that we're engaged, we should go ahead and start looking at purchasing a home together. Here's the kicker, because what I'm speaking is not necessarily the path that I chose. Everything about my relationship and marriage is completely non-traditional, and I love it all. But let me tell you how it got there. It got there by me on purpose paying attention and understanding my husband's intentions in life, with me, with his self, with the children, and with his future. Many more intentions, of course, but those are very important key elements to pay attention to, know, and understand while you're dating. I don't care if you've been dating for 2 weeks, 2 years, or for some people, 20 years. Seeing through to people's intentions can be a helpful indicator of how you move and make certain decisions, especially when they're permanent. Purchasing a home is a huge and important investment that you make in your life. One of the many, one of the biggest. When I met my now husband, I was in the home buying process. We ended up purchasing that home together. We were not engaged at the time. I was pregnant, but I understood and knew his intentions. Fast forward almost 20 years later, over 16 married, and I still know his intentions because I took the time to know me, love me, put a barrier and protection around me, which allowed me to view him, see through to him, ask the qualifying questions to understand his intentions, to know, hey, this is somebody who, let's go ahead and get this house together, or hey, you can just come live with me. Did he ask to be on the deed of the house? Not at all. That's another indicator. There was no pressure. These were conscious decisions that were made while we were in our temporary situation that is now a permanent situation. But to my young folks, my young people, my young daters who are in your temporary stage of life in dating, who may be in your temporary stage of life in engagement, I want you to think thoroughly through all the decisions that you choose to make. Is this something that I want for me before I think of, is it something that I want for us? It is okay to think of yourself first when you're about to make a permanent decision. I want for you to hear me. Anyone under the sound of my voice, I want you to hear me, whether you're live or catching a replay. Thinking about yourself first sometimes is perfectly okay. You have to stop being afraid of losing the other person, because if that other person cannot value you enough to allow you to exercise your voice in your decisions, then there's a deeper conversation that needs to be had anyway. You absolutely need to take time, even if you need to get support from a third party, a neutral, unbiased third party. Hear that? Neutral, unbiased third party. Bounce it off of them. Use somebody else's names in the example if you need to, and just walk that whole thing through. If your partner says, I am done having children, I think you should have your tubes tied, or I think you should have a vasectomy. If you are not done yourself, then you can say, I think that's not what I want to do. We can either A, use birth control, whether it be injection, pill, condoms, pull out method. To me, that just don't work. Come on now. I mean, it does in some cases, don't get me wrong, but you playing with science on that one. It ain't got, you can go through these dates and write down your temperatures and all that stuff, but when your body ready, your body is ready. We don't make that decision, our bodies do. But you need to think of temporary decisions for your temporary situation and stop with these permanent decisions in these temporary situations. Now, earlier I said something to the effect of, all of this is essentially temporary temporary situations. And I absolutely mean that, because just because you've gotten married does not mean that that is a permanent decision. And I'm not talking about because you could get divorced or someone can leave or someone can cheat. I'm not just talking about that. Your partner could pass away. Your partner could become incapacitated. Your partner could become, a permanent vegetable. The only thing that's permanent in this world, in this life, is death. And so as long as you're living, you are forever in a temporary situation. Let that sink in. As long as you're living, single, engaged, married, or divorced, as long as you are living, you are in a temporary situation. And so it is your duty, you are charged with making those permanent decisions based on your view of what you need, what you want, and what you desire, with a respectful and transparent conversation with your partner. I'm not saying just be like, nope, I ain't doing it. Or, oh, you gonna do this. I'm not saying that. I am saying have the conversation respectfully, transparently, and honestly, because transparency and honesty are two different things, just so you know. Have those conversations, and you can have temporary decisions while you're still in this temporary situation of life. Ooh. So, hey, NSA Millie. I'm probably saying it wrong, but hey, thank you for joining me here on Instagram. Make sure you do go back and catch that replay and share it out. So we are 25 minutes after the hour. You know, I am not here longer than 30 minutes. Why? Because it's late. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. I always appreciate the support. Again, it's just getting these conversations started because they're not talked about enough. So make sure you do subscribe to all of my YouTube is the most important one. So you just search Coach K 101, COACH KAY 101, as well as all of my platforms, including Eventbrite, because I have some amazing events that are coming up. I want you to really take in I appreciate you being on here, American Divorce Stories. I appreciate you so much for being on here as well. So make sure that if you haven't already, make sure that we are following each other because I do follow back. And if there's ever a topic that you want to hear a little bit more about, please feel free to message me. And then check out the upcoming topics as well as the events that I have coming up. Super, super, super excited. So, guys, y'all have a nice evening. And I will catch you back here. I almost forgot to tell you because we will be back here next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking up the topic. I think this is on the. Okay. So, I always say this, but I'm serious. Next week is going to be good. So next week, we are talking about when effort turns into expectation. This is a big one I've been hearing about, but go ahead and set your calendars for every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be talking about on November the 8th, when effort turns into expectation. Check out all of my upcoming events. And if you need help with any of these conversations, I can be your bridge. Please feel free to schedule your sessions. Go to loveandintimacy101.com. Check me out. If you catch the replay, let me know what you think. All right, guys, have a nice evening, and I will see you next week. Oh, actually, I'll see you Saturday for Candid Conversation where me and my husband's going to be talking. Whoop. All right, y'all. See y'all later. Bye.